Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the second and final day of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. As you know, the first AI Hackathon Salzburg. My name is Karen Gabriel. I am here as the Director of Programs at the Good AI. And again, I have the pleasure of being your MC for today. 23 hours ago, individual participants met online and they formed teams. They worked on different concepts based on our challenge statement. And in the last 23 hours, they also worked on their prototype. And at 2 p.m., we get to understand what they have come up with. This is the time when our participants, our teams shine. So, what do we have planned for today? Well, we start off with a fireside chat with Matthias and Clemens, both of you whom we have already met yesterday. So we already got introduced to them. And they share with us their personal lessons learned when it comes to turning an idea into a business. So, what does it really mean to be an entrepreneur? And as well, what financial support system can you tap into primarily in Austria? And then at 2 p.m., this is really the most important time. This is when the teams present their prototypes. And this is also when we're going to meet our wonderful judges. So I'm really excited to introduce them to you soon. And then, of course, once every team has presented, our judges meet, they decide on the final score for each team, and then we're going to announce the winners. So stay tuned. It's going to be a really fascinating and exciting afternoon. Without further ado, I now want to start our fireside chat, and I want to invite our two experts to our virtual stage. Matthias, the CEO and co-founder of NextGrid AI and the co-founder of New Native, and Clemens Wasner, who is wearing many hats, as we have heard yesterday, the CEO and founder of and lead AI, the co-founder of AI Austria, and the vice president at AI Data and Robotics Association. Welcome back to you both. Thank you for taking the time again.
Yeah, thanks a lot and good morning, especially to the hackathon participants.
Yeah, it might have been a long night for them, so I guess they didn't get a lot of sleep. Maybe, Matthias, let me ask you, because you were one of the mentors, how were the last 23 hours for the teams? What has been your impression?
No, it was very, very interesting to listen to their ideas around it. And we try to be there to support and kind of nicely poke in the right direction. Because what we really want to see is see an outcome where they actually manage to build a prototype. I mean, we understand that most of the parts in it will not be perfect, but try to getting something together that actually work and we can actually see what it does.
Absolutely. And I think you said it, we are not looking for perfection, but we're looking for the first big step towards this idea. Both of you have already lots of experience when it comes to being an entrepreneur. I'm sure you have had your fair share of lessons learned. And what we want to do now is really understand what advice you can give. What does it take? I remember, Clemens, you showing us the different stages yesterday from a prototype to a business. We also going to explore a bit, well, what are the support systems that young teams can tap into, primarily in Austria, and just see, what advice you can pass on to them. Before we do so, just to set the context a bit, maybe I can ask each of you to briefly outline what has been your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, we already heard co-founder, CEO of multiple companies. And maybe, Matthias, I can start with you. Can you give us a short recap of what your journey as an entrepreneur has been so far?
Yes, absolutely. So I've always been pretty entrepreneurish, but I would say around 2010, I started my first real companies. This was basically in the affiliate business, but connected to internet. So I ended up creating 3 different companies back in Sweden between 2010 and 2013. But at that point, I kind of did see where AI was going and that it would beat me on the things I'm really good at one day. So I would say maybe my journey is not super traditional, because then I spent quite some years actually gathering domain knowledge for when AI was gonna start to become mature. So around 2016, actually, I started the first company since. So 2013, from 2013 to 2016, I basically gathered domain knowledge in deep tech, certain things connected to AI. And then I set out on the mission to actually figure out how to invest in AI companies, because I did see this as the best move when it came to taking a good position in AI, especially initially, because it's a broad field and we don't really know where it's gonna pop off, so to say. So I started a first company, which was called Ingrid, where we basically did try to figure out how can we invest technology into companies. So I was running that for about 2 years and learned a lot of lessons there. Did a lot of mistakes, doing everything from doing bad contracts to bad planning, but a really good experience. So then 2019, we took everything we learned with the Ingrid company and basically did the 2.0, which was NextGrid, where we even more focused towards AI and also around building a lot of, how to say, footprint and brand recognition, and really trying to elevate in those areas where we thought we could be better than competition, because it's pretty tough in the investment world, investment space, especially if you're a bit younger than the general crowd and you have some type of ideas that maybe are not directly fitting into the traditional system. So I would say initially we met a lot of uphill, so to say. I don't think it was so many people believing in what we were doing or backing it up. But we worked really, really hard with that and kind of tried to prove what we was all about. And now today that really starting to pay back, that we've been really that we really believed in what we've been doing and keep going our path, and not, because often also you get a lot of investors and so, but they often want to put your direction a certain path. So we stayed true to what we believe in. And then this year we were able to take the next step when we created a new native company that basically now facilitates the NextGrid company, but also the whole deep learning labs thing, and we're putting up Launchpad and also growth stage funds. So now we get a chance to really step up and compete with the best in the world. But it has been a very long journey, and many times you heavily doubt that, what am I doing with this? I should just have stayed with a regional tech company, so just consulted or something that makes me money, not putting 7 years on the hope that, okay, it will pay back if I do it. But now it looks like it was the right decision. But no, it has been really, really tough many times. It's not easy to create a company, and everyone that have done it will experience that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for giving us this insight, and we're gonna tap into it a bit more. Clemens, how has your journey been, and can you resonate with what Matthias has said as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I was just thinking, somehow if you look at the three of us in my browser window, it's like all roads lead to AI. Because you have Matthias coming from the software side, turned investor, turned OpenAI partner. Then I have myself, of course, I know my own story, but then I was thinking, Karin, via the UAE, you also end up in AI, and now we're here at the AI Hackathon in Salzburg. So it's actually quite funny to see to have three people together. As far as my background is concerned, I I had, let's say, IT related stuff already in high school. In Austria, it's called HTL, and later at university in like computer science. But at the end, let's say, of my computer science, maybe one small comment regarding AI. AI or deep neural networks back then were already known, but they were considered some outlier, basically. So mathematical optimizations good, neural network optimizations not good. This is in a nutshell what was the mindset back then. And I was totally not that deep into it back then. At the end of my university time, I also started to do an BA in Japanese studies additionally. Why? I don't know. Why not? Should be actually the question, because it's cool. And so when I graduated in 2006, I really wanted to work for some time in Asia. For some time back then in my mind was perhaps, half a year or a year. Turned out 10 years. But in order to go there, I had to switch to the dark side of the force. So perhaps this black shirt is very nice that I wear this today. I had to switch to management consulting. So I was for 10 years building up basically the Asian business of one of Austria's largest consulting companies, which was not that technical, I would say. It's lots of business. Also spent 7 years in Tokyo, then 3 years in Beijing, and so on. But what drove me back to AI was starting from 2014, when it was actually the time when Google showed the first prototype of an autonomous vehicle, the one that looks like an egg, or let's say this shape. For us, the discussion in Europe or in the Western world was pretty much, oh, this is so cool. I can still take selfies and it will drive me to the public bus or wherever. Whereas in Asia, this was immediately a geopolitical discussion and a business discussion. So this was really a very stark contrast. And so, yeah, moving forward, when I moved back in 2016, I also started to get in touch with friends again from university, even back to high school. And some of them were already tipping their toes into deep learning. And so, yeah, one thing led to another. And in 2017, we formed the company. Since I was still used to Japanese working times, I also founded the Austrian AI Association, but this was more like one of the big coincidences in life. What I would give as an advice now to the hackathon participants, I think don't look too much or don't be too afraid of the competition. I think this is, and also don't be too afraid to share what you're working on. I think from a mindset perspective, this is for me almost the biggest difference I see between Austrian startups and entrepreneurs, between Asians, UAE, Eastern Europe. It doesn't matter where. If you go to an Austrian startup event, people are always quite reluctant to tell what they're talking about because, oh my God, the competition might strike me. But there's a very nice quote from Y Combinator, where they are saying you rather die from suicide than from competition. So don't get obsessed on your competition. Of course, you also have to ship, but it's you far more likely, let's say, go out of business from your own mistakes than from the competition. And I'm perhaps already way over time. If I do that, just please raise the red card. But I think what is interesting for the participants regarding the journey of our company, Enlight started in 2017 with a product vision. The product vision was to build and to use NLP, means natural language processing, to make some sort of market research, competitive intelligence engine that you can use in consulting projects, because this is where I was coming from, and I knew this is a very big problem. Spoiler, it didn't turn out well. But let's say, since we were always bootstrapping for a certain amount of time, we were just doing bootstrapping projects. This means, from large industrial players. Since we were quite early in the market, we got the front row seat at almost all large enterprises in Austria, and additionally some German ones. So what is to learn here? If you're early with a certain type of technology, you basically get the red carpet even into the very largest corporations, even to Audi, for example. What was, with the benefit of the hindsight, very what was a very good learning effect, you might have witnessed that lots of very large AI corporations, or let's say startups, go out of business because they start with helicopter money. Like, if you have a certain number of Harvard or Stanford or I don't know what PhDs in your team, you would just get a seed investment of 10 or 20 million euros. But actually, quite a number of these companies went out of business because they were developing the product and they never thought about the, let's say, productization or how it should be implemented and rolled out at the customer side. And I think starting here from a project side and then start to build the, let's say, the products on top of it gives you far more resilience and also knowledge what is necessary. Yeah, I could go on for actually days. Perhaps the very last thing I would like to mention, AI is not software as a service as such, even if this is the perception. With the software as a service, yeah, we're using one now as Restream. You're looking into one as Discord. Software as a service is typically, zero marginal cost. You develop it once, you have a feature roadmap, it gets better, but you don't need, let's say, very deep expertise in a specific field that you continuously need to update. It's more or less an engineering problem, but not a scientific problem or a research problem. With AI, that's different. In order to stay competitive with an AI company, you need a couple of PhDs. So it's absolutely vital that you stay on top of your game. And this also cannot be mitigated by just hiring some people, from outside, like acqui-hire. You really need to have an R&D pipeline for AI going on. And I think where it's also very different in the AI space is, I mentioned Discord before or Slack or whatever. For most of these typical software as a service companies, they are what is often called low touch. This means they are very low touch with the customer. There's very little customization, and if a customization is necessary, the customer can do it, as you see very vividly in the Discord channel. For example, AI businesses which are in the B2B area, I would say, are closer to what you know from SAP, for example. So it's more customized, not necessarily on the model level, but how you integrate it with the let's say on-premise infrastructure, and you also need to lead the customer how to use it. It's not like they look at your homepage and they say, "Oh, I always dreamed of this, I will buy it." You need to tailor make the approach for the customer. So I think it would be too easy to think of AI just as another SaaS. It's a bit more complicated than that. But for these are government grants, which would be the next question.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for providing us insights into your journey. I now want to take it a bit closer to home, a bit more personal. I'm sure among our participants, there might be, individuals who already aspire to be entrepreneurs. There might be others who are wondering whether they would be able to pull it off. And for others, it might be purely foreign. They never really considered, building up a business on their own, but rather would seek being employed. What do you think does it take from a personal perspective to really be able to build a business? Are there certain personality traits? I mean, Matthias, you mentioned 7 years of hope, which I think takes a lot of resilience. Clemens, you had the great experience of, working in consulting first, I guess, being employed, and then, switching to becoming an entrepreneur. What kind of traits do you see from a personality perspective when it comes to looking at yourself, but also the entrepreneurs, where you say, well, this is what they have in common and this is what is required from a personal perspective? And Matthias, I want to ask you this question first, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I believe anyone could probably become an entrepreneur, but it could be that it requires a bit of a certain personality type, because it is probably not for everyone. Building companies is really, really hard, so you need to be very passionate, sometimes almost obsessed by succeed with what you are setting out to do, because Most of the time, it's a lot of uphill to reach this different peaks, so to say. And you need to, I think, most important trait is to really believe in what you are doing and believe in it to such a level that you are able to continue even when things don't look so shiny, so to say. And I believe this is also the thing the crucial thing that decides if people succeed or not succeed. Is often those that continue forward despite of everything. I mean, if we look at founders of really, really big and successful companies, I promise 50% of them was really miserable, broke, have basically nothing left when things finally turned around. So, and this is the reality behind founders of many of today's absolutely biggest and most well-known organizations.
So what I'm hearing,
so determine and really believe in it, because passion and drive is so important in this in all the tough periods, and there is a lot of tough periods.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the saying, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, applies as well when building a business. So resilience and passion and the self-confidence, I guess, are crucial. Fantastic.
Yes.
Clemens, sorry. Matthias, do you
No,
want to
all
add?
I wanted to say, I just wanted to add, yes, it's a marathon. It's in many cases 7 days a week marathon, 12 to 16 hours a day, trying to get a startup to this critical tipping point.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you for that. Clemens, what is your take on the personality traits that are required?
I mean, I sign up to everything that Matthias just said, really one to one. I also had to smile a couple of times because this is how it is. I think what sets a founder or a founder's mindset also apart is that you have to deal with uncertainty and risk. So, because you mentioned, for example, that I have been in consulting before, I think where I see a very big similarity between building up, let's say, the foreign outlet of a already established company is at the end of the day, you have to create the product offering, because what we did in Asia was completely different from what we did in Europe. And you have to believe that it is sellable later on. And if you don't do that, it doesn't exist. I think this is it's very different from a job. If you're looking for a job, you just browse the classifieds and you apply for it. But here you have to be the one to create it. And passion, of course, is a driver, but I think it's also important that it's really bugging you so much that this thing doesn't exist, that you want to bring it to the world. And this can be everything. This can be like $1 billion company. This can be, I don't know, I'm standing in the room of my son, so I have to bring it up again. This can also be a kid toy, or a video game in that case. I think it's this type of laser focus to bring something new to the world, which otherwise wouldn't be here. This is, in my opinion, the biggest change, let's say the biggest difference in the mindset between an employee and the entrepreneur, or I would even go so far and say creator, because this is somehow a middle spot that is especially nowadays emerging, and where we will hear lots about it in the Web 3.0 era.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's brilliant, because I guess this inner feeling that why doesn't it exist? I need to make it happen. I guess is an important drive. So now we have outlined a bit from a personality trait. When we look at the journey, so assuming we have an idea and we want to turn it into a business, as a next step, what we usually require are resources, right? We need money and we need the right team. And I guess I want to start a bit with the team as well. I mean, Clemens, you mentioned before, acquihire is one part. I've met founders who didn't necessarily have the technical expertise, but had this vision and the business expertise, who were then hiring for technical talents. But I've also seen technical experts who then hired business, minded people who then also took over the CEO role, and they stayed in the CTO role because that's where they feel most comfortable. How did you how did you build your team around? Like, what were you looking for? Because usually, especially when with students, you would go to your peers, you would look at friends. Is this the right approach? What kind of advice do you have? And Clemens, I want to start now with you first.
No, I'm not sure how representative my case is, because I really ended up with the people I know. And let's say the initial founding team was really what you need. So if you think of the organigram or of the org chart, one of my best friends from school, he was like in school already the technical genius. So he was programming 3D engines when he was like 15. And he was very deep into machine learning in his 20s already. So when we met, this what was more or less a given, that the guy making the PowerPoints continue to do PowerPoints, and the guy that is writing the actual code is continuing to doing that. Additionally, also one of my workmates at the consulting company joined the founding team, or was one of the three founders. He is like the operations guy, key accounting, and also lots of finance, and worked in IT projects. So that was a good mix, especially for the bootstrapping area. But there is this old saying that companies are shipping the org chart. Oh, I'm not an old dude that is coming up with the quotes from Andreessen Horowitz, but I think this is a very important thing to consider. For us, it was always very important that the machine learning systems we are working on, that they're really, let's say, competitive on a global level, like, participate in international research competitions and so on, or be one of the first to the market. You can only achieve this if you have one person in your team with a really very deep background. These people are most likely PhDs. So we expanded the team actually 2 years ago with a person with that background who used to work with the best heads in Europe on this topic. So the question was really, will he join us, or will he go to a lab from Hochreiter or from Jan LeCun? So this org chart question is surely something you need to consider. I mean, I'm often also mentoring, and I think what is representative here perhaps is the inits. I think people in Salzburg, you also know the inits. I forgot what the acronym stands for, but it's quite a famous incubation program that is taking place in Vienna. I think it's by the University of Vienna and the Technical University. My Sugar, for example, came out of there.
Got it. Yeah.
And there you often see teams, sometimes even solopreneurs, which have a very good idea. And by going through such a program, they have lots of pitchings, they just interact with a larger audience, and eventually they end up with a team. It's a little bit like solo founder, box with a question mark, afterwards comes team. But it is definitely good to go to such a program, because you will meet many like-minded people. And very often it's also the case that the two teams completely join and merge the idea for something. Hackathons are also an excellent example for this.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to see that, especially, in the last 2 years, more and more of these opportunities have come up, as also in Austria, through hackathons, different incubation and acceleration programs, and even pitching events, getting your idea out there, because you never know who is in the audience. Matthias, what about you? Because as I understand, your team also has been growing in the past few months, and you already have founded a few companies before. What has been your approach when hiring new employees, or when even joining up with a co-founder?
My experience have been very, very hard to find the right people, especially for what we are doing, because it's a lot, I would say. Key thing is to find people with right mindset and the right ambitions. So that's something I personally have had a lot of experience around how hard that is. It's just as not everyone want to create a startup. Not everyone either want to try to really become the best or go to compete against really big actors, say in USA and so on. So I had a big problem, especially finding people to run the companies with, where it was a good match. Finding there are a lot of talent when it comes to tech. Overall, I would say mathematics, deep tech area, especially around Europe, overall have a lot of talent in this area. So I would say when it comes to hire that type of talent or find them, there are quite plenty of them in this area, and that's something that is opportunity right now. But when it comes to finding the people to run the companies and organizations with, it's quite tricky, because you will end up going through a lot of hard times together, and it's very hard to find these people where it not will rip apart. So fallout between founders, co-founders, and so is a very common reason to companies falling apart overall. So it took me many years before actually finding someone that say share my mindset, so to say. So now my co-founder, the main owner of New Native, together with me, we are very like-minded. But then, for example, several of people working with us, it's actually people they started as intern at some point and then kind of grow to another position. And so we have, for example, Jakob here that have been fixing around this event quite much. So he started as intern and then went through to kind of running all the logistics and everything around social media, and now kind of to project management. And who knows, in a year or two, maybe he is the main person launching one of our new companies or vehicles, so to say. So I believe a lot in finding the right people and investing in them, as well as getting them invested in what you are doing and the bigger mission. Now we are in a situation we're trying to scale really fast. So basically trying to go on New Native from 10 people to 38 people, and it's very hard here. We both hired and fired people last couple of weeks here. So the saying is, don't sound so positive maybe, but the main saying is like hire fast, fire faster. So if something doesn't work out, then okay, let's go separate ways, because having just 1-2 people with the wrong mindset or that are, say, adding uncertainty or not like have the drive as the other ones, that very fast spread around and kind of lowering the whole organization's performance, I would say.
Yeah, I also agree with what you said, and from my personal experience, it's if you don't fit with the organization, that's also not as an employee enjoyable, right? There are organizations which really fit to you, you thrive because of the whole environment as well, the leadership. But then with other organizations, you might be doing the same task, but just the environment doesn't fit. So I think it's just fair. And I guess internships are a great opportunity to also then test out, can I see myself working in a startup environment? Since you are hiring Are you open to hiring remote talents? Are you looking for talents in Sweden? The reason why I'm asking is because we have students in the audience. Some of them might graduate soon, might be interested in looking at a startup. Are there any opportunities that would be feasible for them as well?
Absolutely. There are opportunities for remote work, and then we have two different offices in Poland right now, and also putting up in Stockholm, and probably on more locations as we move forward. And we also have one person in Austria that are closely connected to us. So it could be that we start something up there also. So anyone that are interested can just head over to newnative.ai or nextgrid.ai, and you should find a link there. Go down to the footer in worst case, and you'll find it there if you don't see it before. So absolutely, just send in application, and we are really looking for people that are believers in what we believe in, and that can see what kind of is happening in the technical space right now and want to be at the forefront of this.
Fantastic. Matthias, Clemens, we now talked about, how do you build up the resources from personal, the staff perspective, the team perspective, but then of course there's also the money, like you need financing, you need a bit of financial support to kick it off. Since you are based in Austria, what kind of opportunities do you see for young teams when it comes to financial support, maybe angel, seed round, any competitions where they can receive money? What's out there for them?
I mean, the good news is, like, the TLDR version is there myriads of ways how you can get public money in Austria. Especially for young teams, it always pays to have a look at the Austria Wirtschaftsservice. It's AWS, but it's not the Amazon AWS. So they have, for example, a program. It's called AWS First, and very often teams after hackathons and before they form a company, they take AWS First. It's like 20, 25 or 30K, no strings attached. So this is really, it's free money. It's also not that super, let's say, of course it's strict with the requirements, but you don't need to hand in a phone book like full of what you're gonna do. It's just a couple of pages. What I can also highly recommend is, again, AWS has a so-called pre-seed program, but this is mostly for companies which are doing something more on the experimental side, because more or less you have to communicate you're doing something which even in the pre-seed stage, means before the company is getting founded, already needs money. But we are talking here already about a couple of €100,000. Once you formed your company, there are just so many. I have to smile when I think how many there are, because for people not living in Austria, it's sometimes unbelievable. You have the Austrian Research Promotion Agency. This is the FFG. They have more programs than, that's just lots of programs. Space program, what do I know? It's always in the range, I would say, between 250K to up even to 750K. There, for this, let's say, programs at the FFG, you also need to show that you have a type of own capital. This means funding, which is not just purely coming from the government grant. Here, you either take an angel on board. There is, for example, also the AWS as a service. I forgot that name, but they also even have a matching service to match you with investors. Then there's the Austrian Angel Investors Association. It's AAIA. There are lots of, let's say, angel investor clubs that you can just poke, and they will send around your pitching material. On a region, so this is not just the federal level. On the regional level, there's really more than I even know. And every week you find out there's a new one. If you happen to be based in Vienna, the Wirtschaftsagentur Wien or the Vienna Business Agency is your friend. If they have similar programs, which then can be applied for additionally to the stuff I mentioned before. So, this is like a Matroshka puppet in government grants. But as far as I know, Styria has a similar constellation, and Carinthia, I'm not so familiar with Salzburg, but I'm quite sure even Lower Austria has it. So yeah, everybody has it. Yeah, maybe one last comment. What I think, and this is a little bit adds to what Matthias just said. I think in Austria, I highly recommend that you make a founders agreement, and that in the founders agreement you do something like a vesting. A vesting means that let's say make it easy. Let's say two people form a company, and what if after 2 years one of them just doesn't want it anymore, or there are family situations where he or she cannot fulfill that function anymore? With Austrian company law, if you have a, let's say, limited liability company, a GmbH, you're basically totally screwed. So you have to make a founders agreement, which is saying that after a certain time span, you're actually the owner of your shares and not immediately from the get-go. And you also, let's say, define the rules, how shares can be transferred and so on. This will save you lots of gray hair down the road. This is one of the things that is very easy to do in the United States and the UK. In Austria, it's not so straightforward, but it's also possible. And yeah, you don't need to spend the amount of a car to get this 5 to 10K, and they have a very good founders agreement. So this is definitely something you should keep in mind. And one more thing, for those of you which are not based in Austria, what I noticed is there is now, I think I also had this in the presentation yesterday, you have now more and more even startups which are actively reaching out either to the ABA, that's the Austrian Business Association, if they can get funding to, for example, for an office to build up operations in Austria. And we at AI Austria also receive lots of matchmaking questions. For example, from biotech startups, they ask, yeah, we would like to talk with the biotech cluster in Vienna, and we want to talk a little bit with medtech and biotech companies in Austria to get a feeling if this is a fertile ground to build this type of company or not. And this is also getting quite some traction. I would not be surprised, let's say, if next year, if I give a similar presentation to the one yesterday, you have there, let's say, an additional 10 startups which formed in the last 12 months. This is really, it's becoming a thing now.
Fantastic.
Perhaps strongly related to the funding landscape.
Yeah, I mean, it's really brilliant. I think what I almost admire when I get a chance to speak to, founders, entrepreneurs, is just their willingness to share, what they have learned, especially your personal mistakes. I met a lot of founders who said, this was my biggest mistake. Don't do it. Like, learn from my mistakes. And I think that's very helpful. And that's what, also being part of this community, I guess you learn a lot of things on the way. And I guess the tips you both just mentioned are extremely helpful. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for giving us insight into your journey, for sharing a bit, the advice, the next steps our teams can consider. We're going to see you again back soon for the judges, for the judging panel. And we now have until 2 p.m. We're just waiting for the teams to get ready to present. And at 2 p.m., we are starting officially the presentations of the team, which I'm personally really excited. I guess you both as well, because it's been almost 24 hours now. And yeah, thank you again for this conversation, for this really interesting fireside chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
See you soon. Brilliant. So as I said, at 2 p.m. is when we're going to meet the team. So they're all getting ready now to present. We already received the presentations. So we're going to be back online at 2 p.m. in a few minutes, and you get to meet the whole judging team. So Clemens and Matthias are also part of it. And then, of course, the individual teams who will share with us what they have come up with in the past 24 hours. See you soon. Thank you. It's 2 p.m. It's the time for our participants to shine and for them to present their prototype, which they've been working on for the past 24 hours. So we are in the final stage, stage number 6. Each team has 5 minutes to present, to also demo the prototype if they have anything for us to look at. And then afterwards, our judges will ask clarifying questions to each team, then put down their scores. And as mentioned yesterday, each team can either have one person from the team presenting or multiple team members. That's totally up to them. I already mentioned our amazing judging panel a few times, and they will evaluate each team based on those 6 criteria that we already presented yesterday. The degree of completion, so have the team managed to complete their prototype in those 24 hours? What is their overall presentation style? Can their idea actually be applied from a business perspective? What is the degree of innovation? How original, how creative is their solution? And then, of course, can it be realistically turned into a tech solution? And very simple, what is the overall impression of our judges from each team? For each category, each team can earn up to 10 points. So that 10 is the highest number. And of course, we also have really fantastic prizes for our first, second, and third place teams. The first place team will win 1,000 euros in cash, the second team 600 euros, and the third team 400 euros. Each of them will also receive a voucher for DigitalOcean. For the first place, this voucher will be of a value of 250 euros, and for the second and third place, 125 euros each. And each member of those top 3 teams will get a membership free of charge at the Good AI, which is around a value of 100 euros per person. I just quickly want to take the time to introduce the Good AI. The Good AI is an international community, and we run different community programs, from community events to workshops, projects with different startups. We also have a virtual job fair, and then, of course, certain projects we are delivering and working on with corporates. And ultimately, we're looking at AI, artificial intelligence, for sustainability, as well as sustainable AI. So these are our 2 core focus areas, and we look forward to welcoming the members of the top 3 teams to be part of this international community. All right, now it's time for me as well to introduce the judges. But before I do so, I want to mention again a really great opportunity for anybody who has been part of this hackathon, who wants to take their entrepreneurial journey forward. And that's the FR Startup Center at Salzburg. So this is a team, an institution that can help you when it comes to really taking your idea, turning it into a startup. They have special support when it comes to the seed phase, as well as to the pre-start and the start phase. So here are the contact details in case you want to reach out to them and you don't have any contact. Feel free to reach out to us as well after the hackathon. I think this is a great support system that you already have at your institution to take your entrepreneurial journey forward. All right, now without further ado, let me welcome our judges. We have Clemens, Arnold, Martin, Karina, and Matthias. So they are popping up on the screen now as I can see them. Fantastic. Well, welcome to you all. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I want to start off and give each judge a few minutes to introduce him or herself. And as it's listed here in the running order, let me start off with Clemens. Clemens, how are you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'm doing fine. Thank you for inviting me to this challenge here today. I'm a senior lecturer at the Fachhochschule Salzburg, and I'm representing today the degree programs Multimedia Technology and Human Computer Interaction. There I'm researching in the area of artificial intelligence for multimedia data, and so I'm really looking forward to the presentations today.
Fantastic. So you might already have, there might be some of the participants whom you actually know from the studies. So this could be quite interesting. Thank you so much for being part of it, Clemens. Arnold, you are representing the startup perspective. Welcome to the judging team.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be part of the judging team. I'm CTO of Fact AI. It's an AI company based in Salzburg. Could also say a startup. We are looking for investors and want to scale. And now I also am looking back to some years of cooperation in research with the University of Applied Sciences, and also a part-time lecturer for some time at the University of Applied Sciences.
Fantastic. Thank you, Arnold, and it's great to have you on board.
Next
up, Martin.
Hello, and thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity for me to be part of this panel today. I'm lecturer at the IT department at the Salzburg University of Applied Sciences, especially here in the degree programs, Applied Image and Signal Processing, Business Informatics, and Information Technology and Systems Management, where I'm within the courses on machine learning, reinforcement learning, and in general of the whole AI programs there. I'm looking forward to your presentations and see you later.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Martin. And we also have Karina here, who is representing a very special organization today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be invited to be one of the judges. I myself, I don't have a technical background, but I'm very much involved in tech in various ways. So on the one hand, I am a so-called ambassador for women in AI, and we have a very cool organization, which I'm going to present a bit later to you, or may I present it right now, Karin?
Up to you. Yeah, we can also present it now.
Okay, so Women in AI is an interdisciplinary network which works towards more diversity in AI, especially looking to foster more female representation and participation in the field, because there is still a large gap on all areas. And what we do is we have actually quite some activities in the educational sphere. Also, we organize events, and we try to make sure that we always are present on panels and important fora. And we also do quite some work on policy, really commenting all the policy documents, legal, ethical guidelines coming up. And so this is also something that I wanted to make a quick call to action. We are not very active in Salzburg yet. So if there is the one woman or man or whatever gender among you who really thinks there should be more diversity in that field and wants to get engaged in Women in AI and open a Salzburg chapter or just start certain activities there, then please reach out to me afterwards. And yeah, so that's Women in AI. And then also my bread job is I am CEO and co-founder of Textastic, and we are an AI startup which focuses on finance and tax processes. And we do actually expense classification with natural language processing, and therefore we use BERT and not GPT-3. And also I'm a part-time lecturer at the FH St. Pölten and IMC Krems, where I'm lecturing critical algorithmic studies and ethical and legal considerations of AI. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very excited and looking forward to your projects.
Fantastic. You're wearing many hats as well, Karina, same as our expert, Clemens, who shared with us his expertise yesterday and today. And he mentioned a very interesting number that 16% of all AI startups in Austria are founded or co-founded by women. So I think your initiative is the one that can increase this number in the next few years. And of course, we also have Matthias back. You have been one of the cornerstones of today's hackathon. So welcome back, Matthias.
Thank you so much. So I'm founder of NextGrid AI, which is an early stage AI investment and acceleration program. where we basically trying to build a setup more suitable for more technical and especially AI companies. So we do not only invest money, but we also make sure they get access to the best possible circumstances to succeed on the tech side. So this means both access to infinitive hardware, basically, and also pre-market access to technologies from organizations such as OpenAI. What more? And we also have an organization called New Native, where we are deploying more initiatives to invest in AI startups. And we do this because we believe it's really important to accelerate innovation and to actually create a path for companies to go and solve big problems and put that in the absolute focus, not, how to say, selling the startup to the next investor in the pipeline.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you back, and thank you all for taking the time. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have each team presenting for 5 minutes, and then you will be backstage. You'll come again the front stage, and you can ask any clarification questions you have. You're going to put down your score, and once each team has presented, you're going to basically meet, deliberate, and decide on the top 3 teams. Are you guys ready? You have your scoring charts? Yes, I see thumbs up. That's great. Then I would say it's time for the teams to shine. And I'm going to announce now the running order. So the order in what the teams will present. We have some really funky names. So I'm really interested and excited to now meet the team members behind those names. The first team will be Team HTT. The second team is AI Ventures. The third team is Secret AI. I hope I pronounced this correctly, but you have the time and the opportunity to correct me. The fourth team, The Leftovers, very creative. And the fifth team would be Artificial, so with a Y. All right, just checking now if the first team is ready. HDT, if yes, can we bring them to the front? Yes. Hello. How are you?
Hello. Doing good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Yes.
Perfect.
Can you tell us who is part of your team and what's your
Sure.
name?
Actually, it's part of the presentation. At the end, we're going to show like pictures of everyone. It's part of
Fantastic.
the team. There's another view. But first of all, I want from the team side thank the organizers for organizing the event, and the mentors as well to support us with decisions taking and discussions. I think this was very fruitful, and we want to say thank you very much from our side. So I have the pleasure today to present.
Just before you start, I
sure.
just want to make sure that because it's 5 minutes, are you all good to go? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Then I'm going to go backstage. I'm going to come to the front again once your 5 minutes are over. So when you see me pop back again, you know your time is up. But you have 5 minutes starting now. Good luck and have fun.
Thank you very much. So I have the pleasure today to present our team or the project we have been doing as part of the Salzburg AI Hackathon as the team Harder Data. And just to give a bit of introduction, so when we were thinking about sustainability, we thought like what is an area where sustainability is really important. And to us, we thought about agriculture being one of these areas where sustainability is really a big topic and it's really crucial. And we know that agriculture is maybe not the first thing that comes to mind when we think about technology and innovation, but agriculture is the world's largest industry. And in addition to that, obviously, agriculture is very, very important. Actually, it's more than 9 billion people that depend on the function and the work of the food agriculture industry. And in total, it's expected to be more than $10 billion, the total market share of the agriculture industry. But all of this is in danger, as everyone probably knows to some extent. All of this is in part threatened by climate change. because like the expectation is in many ways that climate change is going to reduce crop yields all over the world for different reasons. And in addition to that, it forces a lot of change that has to be implemented by farmers, that has to be implemented by the agriculture industry in general. So we see some of the main challenges that we thought that we can address with our solution to be on one side that those farmers have to adapt their strategies, that those farmers have to learn about new technologies and new best practices. And in the best case, what we want to achieve is to support them, to empower them, to make local decisions based on the knowledge that they have and help, and to be able to react quickly to the changes that are happening around them on all over the planet. So how do we do that? How is this possible? So what we propose is our solution is the agriculture decision support system, which is we're going to hopefully have time to present it shortly. It's going to be in its final stage a mobile app that utilizes the power of GPT-3 to promote a sustainable farming. And as part of this hackathon, we were able to develop a proof of concept, which is based on a web application where farmers or potential farmers can interact with this application, can approach this application to ask certain questions on how to resolve issues that are relevant for them in farming. Like our main use cases in these ones, for example, are which crops to use for the next season, or what are the best practices around using those crops, or for example as well supporting them with creating a plan on how to use those crops, how to plant them, when to plant them, and what to take care of. In addition to that, to be more generic, because obviously those is only a subset of possible questions that farmers could have, we have a more generic questioning system as well, where farmers can interact with the system, trying to identify, for example, what could help them. If I can, I would share my screen for a second and give a short demo of the application. I hope you can see my screen at the moment. So this is our web application. It's based on Streamlit. And as I said before, one has the opportunity to select a set of questions. Let me just shortly switch. We can see the screen. That's unfortunate. Part of it, if you want to try it out, we have a link available for it where you can go directly. You can use your open API key, and you can then use this form to answer, to provide insert information, because the idea that we had with our system is that it combines the capabilities of GPT by providing information from farmers and using certain prompts that we know that are successful to produce useful results. Combining these two information, we can then query GPT, and with this, we hope to provide answers that are useful for the farmers. Before we end, I want to present our team. So we have a quite international team. Half of our team works and lives in Indonesia, so we had some difficulties there with the time zones. But the team is part of Natanya, Kevin, and Rido, and myself. And from all of it, we said we had a lot of fun working on this hackathon. We think the theme of agriculture is obviously, and sustainability is very important, and we hope that with the proof of concept that we have created, that we support better improvements in this area. With this, I want to say thank you very much. And before we go, you have the possibility, and we hope that you're going to check out our project. It's on GitHub, and you can try it out there for free.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Manuel. And you stayed right in the time, so that's brilliant. I really like the focus of agriculture, because I think especially in the last 2 years, we realized the importance of, this sector. All right, we're gonna bring back the judges to see if they have any clarification questions for you and the team, and they're popping up now. And just wanted to check. Hi, judges, welcome back. Who wants to ask the first questions, or was everything clear for you? Arnold, please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's a really useful application, and I think the usefulness. But do you have any? How would you answer the questions that? How have you any example how a conversation or interaction with this tool looks like? So what?
Yes, so part of the demo would have
question.
Part of the demo would have been to show you some of our forms. So as part of the presentation, if we were able to see here quickly, you can select a subset of possible topics that, let's see, are predefined topics. And you have a very generic one, which is a generic question here. If you select one of the predefined topics, this is basically a prompt template. So we are using the information that you provide as part of this form, combine it with a prompt, and query GPT-3. And the result is what we use to support the users.
So it would be some sort of advanced search engine.
It would be using, as I said, like it's a combination of like the background knowledge present in GPT plus the context information provided with the user. And in the future steps, our idea was that you can enrich this information with backward information that you have from the system itself. For example, more information about the local weather situation, maybe more information about like where the query is taking place, or like even in the best case, like have other information that you can enrich in order to make this query more useful.
Thanks very much. Any other questions?
Looking at the other judges, do we have any additional questions? Karina, please go ahead.
Very interesting and important project. And I think also very well positioned for Austria, having a big industry in that sector and being very well positioned. Do you know of any competitors or other companies providing this kind of service already? Because I know there is quite some AI startups in the field of farming, but not answering specific questions, I think.
Yeah, I know as well that there's quite an industry about smart agriculture, where you try to make use of all kind of prediction models as well to do all kind of predictions. I think the challenge with many of them is that the people that are supposed to use those technologies obviously don't have the technical background. So you have to find a solution which is very easy for them to use. And I think the main benefit of a solution like this one is it's really simple. And like even then having the option to have like this free text conversation on question thing, I think this would make it very accessible for people. But I'm quite sure that there are other companies around the world who think about ways to support future farming.
Fantastic. Thank you, Karina. Do we have anyone else? Clemens, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. It looks very interesting. So I expect that you tested also certain queries and tried to find out what the answers are for certain questions. Can you give us an estimate? What are the results of the systems? Is it like?
I lost you there at the end, but concerning the results, so the experiments that we did were surrounding these 4 different use cases, and you could definitely see that depending on the country and because for example, the first one, which was concerning, just to give an example, the crop selection, it's at the moment the minimal version where you specify a location and the amount of rainfall that you have in this region. So we can definitely see that based on that you have, for example, different crops, and it provides the system, the GPT will return you a list of possible crops that make sense under this condition. And once you have that, for example, how do you then you go to for example, the crop-based practice, you can, for example, provide there the plant type, the location, some characteristics about your fields, and the system will give you a list of best practices of things that you should follow through and things that you should avoid when you're working with those plants. And we saw, to us, at least, like useful results.
Fantastic. Thank you, Manuel, for clarifying. Just checking if we have any final questions from the judges. Yeah, Karina, please.
Sorry to ask again. Just does any of you have a farming background, or did you speak to someone in farming before you actually started this idea?
Unfortunately, we did not have the time to speak to any domain experts in the field. Let me just check if any of my colleagues have direct experience with farming. My grandparents have been farmers, but in another area of the world than in Bali or Indonesia. Let me see, my team is writing something.
I'm just asking because my father has actually a winery, and I have the impression that also in this industry there are many farmers who have the opinion that they know what they are doing very well, and I pitch receipts.
Exactly, but one of the targets definitely for us, or like the ideas would be to approach in many ways, as you said, like farmers that maybe don't have a strong education or background in this area, and on the other side, like as we saw that climate change is going to force a lot of adaptation and change in farming strategies and plans. So the idea is there that like in order to have a system that supports them in this type of change. And in many ways, right, this is a decision support system. The final decision obviously has to be taken by the farmers.
Fantastic. Thank you, Manuel. Do we have a final questions? Are you judges good to put down your scores? I take this as a yes. Well, thank you so much, Manuel and the rest of the team. This was Team HCT for being the first ones to present, and this very also forward-looking solution, I have to say. We'll now kick you out of the Restream studio, and we're going to ask the next team to join.
Then
and
thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, I'm curious to see the final scores.
Brilliant. Same here. So now we're going to bring in the second team, AI Ventures, and we're going to ask those of the team, so those team members who will present, to join the studio. And we're going to put the judges again backstage so they have some time to put down their scores, and we are waiting for the next team to set up and prepare for the presentation. I do assume they are Marvel Studio Avengers fan because the name is AI Ventures, but let's see who is behind the name. All right, Daniela, I already see you popping up, and another person.
I think.
Will you present it?
Yeah, I will present.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the AI Hackathon, to the final stage of presenting. Are you ready? Are you good to go?
Yeah, I think so, but I'm okay. I have to get familiar with the Restream studio. I've never used it before, but I think it's working.
Otherwise, you can just try switching the slides on the left-hand side. Okay. So let me know when you're good to go, and then your 5 minutes will start.
One moment, and yes, I'm ready.
Brilliant. Well, good luck.
So thank you very much. I'm Daniela. I'm a student at FH Salzburg. Our team consists of 3 students from the FH. So it's Patrick, Jacob, and me, and we are all not very familiar with AI, so we've not worked on project before. So it was quite an interesting challenge to find some problems and also a solution. So we are all students, and we had one problem that sometimes our lecture notes are too complicated to understand or incomplete. So we thought about a tool which extends the information of lectures and adds some additional information so that we can also gain some summarizes, also some keywords, and maybe some questions to learn for our exams. So as I said before, so students often face the problem that we have too many documents and they are not complete or sufficiently developed. So our solution was that we used the AI to extend the information, to get keywords, to convert the text to a short summary that we can understand it, and also that we can create some questions that we can use for the exam. So what does that look like? We thought about a website where you can upload your documents and like a PDF file or a PPTX, something like that. And the website extracts the information and give it to GPT-3. And then you can also add some settings like you want to get more information or something else, you want to just simplify the text you've added, and so on. And GPT-3 creates a summary, creates study questions, study notes, or just cleans up the full text. And yeah, you save time as a student. So you can use the time for something more, I don't know, you can learn more, and it's very faster and more efficient. So what have we tried? We just used the playground on OpenAI and just added some prompts like extend the following text with further detailed information. And it looked like that. So we edited it, and I think my GIF is not working on the presentation, but there are some GIFs, and normally you should see that it's just we add the source and then there is the extended version. So on the left side, we have a source about a neutron star, and on the right side, we get some more information about neutron stars. So that's the first try we made. Then the second one was to find some keywords and bullet points in the source and add also some explanations for the keywords, like what is a neutron star, what is a supernova, what is gravitational collapse. So you as student can learn a lot more from the keywords itself. So the next step was that we convert the text that we've generated to a simple form. So it's easier to understand it. Yeah. And the last step was that we also wanted some research questions or study questions that we can prepare ourselves for the exams. So our conclusion were we were increasing the learning pace with GPT-3. The study material was improved, the learning materials and the documents were improved. We got a better understanding of the content we had, and it wasn't that time consuming anymore for extra research because the GPT-3 was doing that for us. And yeah, that's it. It's an application for students to make learning more sustainable and more efficient. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Daniela. That's really exciting. And, I think we all can remember our days at the university with this many notes we had to go through and additional researches. So we have the judges coming back to the stage and just checking if we have any first question to kick off with Daniela and the AI Ventures team. Okay, Karina, please go ahead. And
Yeah, so thank you. Super interesting presentation, and it looks really helpful. Since I am personally, I don't know the very much details of GPT-3, I wanted to ask, does it work in German as well? Like, could you just upload a German text? And also I wanted to ask if you tried to also upload another example, like a random example from your studies and how it performed.
Yeah, the first example was just a random text. I was creating a PowerPoint slide with just, hello, I am there, I need some information. And it was also working with that. Yeah, so you can use it in different languages. You can use different topics. So it's working, but I think you have to put more work on the settings just to make sure that you get the information you really want.
Brilliant. Thank you, Daniela. Second question from the judges. Yes, Martin, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you very much for the interesting presentation. What would for you be the next steps for this product? How would you proceed?
Patrick, would you like to say something, or should I just go on? Okay, I can't hear him. I will just so the next steps. For now, we just made a Jupyter lab and tried something, and the next steps would be to make an interface, to make some tests with students. What do they really need? And then we also have to specify the settings that you get good information. So I think the next step would be to clarify what do we want and what do we need for a successful interface. Is it better to use a website or an application? Yeah, that would be.
Fantastic, thank you. Do we have another question from the judges? Yes, Arnold, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's an interesting tool. Do you have any strategies or plans how to monetize it? A little bit about the business model.
Yeah, we haven't thought about that yet. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like you have to pay for every file you are uploading, or also you are making an what is it called? Like a monthly payment, a subscription. Yeah, something like that. Or also that students could try it, for instance. Maybe it's also a project would for the universities itself to just help their students to improve their study quality. But it's not limited to students yet. So because normally everyone wants to learn something in their life, and we don't have presentations and something else just like during university. So maybe it would be a useful tool for the business world as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And you have two representatives here from the university, so maybe it's good to have a conversation with them afterwards to see if they want to take it forward as a joint project. Great. Any other questions from the judges? Yes. Clemens,
thank you very much for the presentation. Seems like to be a very useful application for the degree programs. I think there are many other programs available with which you can summarize text. Did you do a small benchmark comparing it with other programs that are available for free, or is there anything that you find out?
There are some programs which are summarizing, but our main aspect was that we generate more information. So it's not just a summary, it's also additional information and an easier understanding. So it's like you have a text, you get keywords, and you extract keywords that are interesting for you to more text. So you get more information about those topics, and then you can simplify them again. So it's just like not one step, there are more steps than one. So I've not found one application that's similar, but we have not done so much research yet. So
great, thank you, Daniela. And Martin, please.
Thank you. Just one last question from my side. Did you try how robust is GPT-3 to certain domains? I can assume that if you put in some questions or some text from certain courses where there's not much information maybe trained within GPT-3, it maybe poses some insufficient results. Did you try something like that, or did you observe something?
We've tried different topics, like simply Wikipedia topics, but also abstracts from research papers. And yeah, sometimes the information you have gotten was not that not in detail, but it was okay. I cannot say how it's yeah, that's something we should where you should do a research. just to make it clear if there's possible. But I think if there are many students using it, the information gain is generated.
Fantastic,
Can you
thank
hear
you.
me now? Oh no! At the
Yeah,
end, it's
now.
working.
Yeah.
Patrick,
Unfortunately,
yes.
of course. So
We can't see you. If you maybe can turn on your camera
yeah,
if
of
it
course.
works. Yes, and here you are. Hello.
So I have two monitors, and it's some kind of delay on the original stream. It's a bit
No problem. Do you
confusing
want to
at the
add
end.
anything to the answers that Daniela has already given?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Daniela, because I was supposed to answer your questions. Is what we discussed beforehand. But at the end, we tried to make a tool just to improve the quality of documents. Never mind if they are just PowerPoint presentations or PDFs or papers, whatever. The idea is to increase the information you gain with adding additional information and then shrink it down again just to stay in the same size at the end. And for studying, you can just create some questions, and we tried that out with GPT, and that worked quite good at the end. And the idea is just to learn sustainable and get more information out of these kind of papers without having the need to research anywhere for missing information which you would like to see in the same paper. So thank you all.
Fantastic. Thank you, Patrick, for adding those details. Just looking at the judges once more to see if there's any final question. Matthias, please.
Yes, I just wanted to give some tips and advice there around the GPT-3. So what it is good at is generating out text or extracting or understand the logic. But if you actually want to have precise information, then you need to build in functionalities in your app where you're actually adding in this information, and it's able actually to extract it in a very good way and the way you want it. So the GPT-3 by itself, it's not a lexicon, or it's not sitting on all the information. So the information it's sitting on is basically from all the various text it was trained on, but it's by far not a reliable source to, with fact, answer any question. So if you rather than are able to add in all this content and then you tell GPT-3 to actually extract the answer from that or the information you want, it will be able to do it at an extremely high level.
Fantastic. Thanks, Matthias. And I think, it's a fantastic base. And this is always the next step when an idea is what is the now, what do we need to focus on a bit more, what do we need to shift. But I think it's been a brilliant presentation. Judges, any further questions to Daniela and Patrick? No? Brilliant. Yeah? Arnold.
Maybe just one short question.
Yes.
I really like the idea to generate questions out of the content. Do you also provide answers, or do you provide a solution if I answer something, if it's correct? So like this?
Yeah, we didn't try that out, but it came up to our minds. Just if you create some questions, it would be nice if you would have the appropriate answers as well. So you could just learn questions with answers, but at the end we thought some kind of answering the questions by your own would be a bit better to learn the stuff which you have to learn too. So I'm not sure at the end because as I said before, we didn't try that out, but I'm looking forward to try that maybe after this presentation, because we had a lot of fun with GPT-3, and we even tried to misuse it to solve the whole challenge for us. So, we really enjoyed that, and yeah, thank you for the question, but we didn't try that.
I mean, that's brilliant. And having fun is, of course, really key of being part of the hackathon. And the suggestion that Arnold just gave, this is then when you go into the field test, you actually have students try it out. This is when you figure out what needs to be the feature included, and also whether you provide these features for free or as as a paid service. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, iVentures. Karina, yes, please go ahead.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. Your questions are important.
I just wanted to ask, so I studied law, and I think it will still, and books are a huge business model, and you can buy them online as well, but I think it still will take a long time for lawyers or for law students to have the access to digital resources. But so I think you shouldn't focus on this kind of target groups where you really have everything in hard books on thousands of pages. And I just was wondering, like, if then you have like this 700-page book online, could you upload like 700 pages and generate basically a very short version with questions of it? And also I was thinking of, is there a way to, not that this would be legally okay, but eventually recorded sessions, like during COVID, the sessions were recorded to also generate summaries from the lectures themselves.
So if I recall correctly, we had something similar yesterday with Matthias, where he was talking about an idea that another group in another hackathon made something similar, just took notes from the audience and solidified that to something more readable, but I'm not sure if I got that right. So we didn't, to answer your question at the end, we didn't try out uploading really big text. So we were just, in this 24 hours, we tried just to figure out if this is working for the same text. So because the idea is to get all this done for the same text. And we got quite inspired by the examples on the beta open AI website, and we were basically thinking about some ideas. How can we use that to improve our daily life as students with some kind of sustainability, of course, because if you learn it better and you can recognize stuff better in the future. And yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. And yeah, Matthias has given a really good presentation insight into GPT-3. We actually put the recording as well on Discord. And I think there's so many possibilities, and it's literally a tool you have to play around with to figure out what it actually all can do. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much to the team, to the great presentation. And thank you to the judges. And now we're gonna ask the third team to join us. Secret AI or Sacred AI, I'm not really sure. I hope they can reveal how to correctly pronounce their team name. So this is the third team that we're gonna have joining. The judges again going backstage, and we're gonna add the members presenting for the third team any second now, as soon as they have joined the Discord channel. And I already see them popping up. Hello guys, how are you? I can't hear you yet. I'm not sure if you're still on mute. Let's see if it works now. So maybe if you want to check the settings as well, you can also do a quick audio test in case you are already unmuted, but we can't hear you yet. Because I'm really curious to figure out how do I correctly pronounce your team name. Do you maybe want to, I don't know, Cuba, our technical wizard, should they exit the Restream and join again? Would this make any difference? You know, sometimes unplugging and plugging it in again. Okay, I see you using the headphones now. Maybe this would make a difference. Let's try.
I would suggest pressing the gear icon and choosing the right device, maybe.
The setting, yeah. So if on the right-hand side, you see basically the setting icon, if you click on it, you can adjust audio and you can adjust video. And under audio, you can adjust, you know, select the microphone, the output and the input as well. Do you see the icon? Yeah. Okay. If
So
not, what?
after you maybe after you switch the device, try to reconnect. So disconnect and enter again.
So first select the device and then reconnect again. If not, it's no issues. We can always maybe then ask the fourth team to join while we're figuring out the audio settings. But let's give it a few more minutes to see if the team can join and we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes,
No.
I heard something very...
Is the audio quality...
Can you say something again, please?
Hello?
It's very... You're not very clearly visible here, as I can't hear you very clearly. I can see you, but it's the volume is not very high.
It's on max.
Can you say something again, a bit louder maybe?
Check.
Yeah, there's a bit of feedback as well. So I'm not sure if there's a second device where you're seeing the
I would
stream.
just scream. Is it fine now?
Okay, let's try it. Great.
Okay.
First of all, how do I pronounce your name, the team name?
It's secretary, but we'll no longer
Secretary.
keep it a secret. So it's a good introduction. That's it.
Fantastic. I think if you can just speak loudly, and I'm going to increase my volume a bit. Otherwise, I see your presentation. Are you two ready to start your 5 minutes?
We're
All
ready.
right. Then the stage is all yours.
Thanks a lot. So for us, sustainability was more a factor of human resources, and that in the specific case of small and medium-sized businesses, which we also interviewed 2 stakeholders from companies with less than 10 people. For them, time is precious, and so is it for everyone else, but they spend their free time then in managing diverse social media channels, organizational matters, sorting up emails, inputting dates, and so on. So we tried to focus our product and solution in that sense on giving them an easier experience in contacting the digital world and managing their digital assets, be it products, be it dates or organizational matters, as mentioned before. We try to give some sort of help in that sense. So we came up with the solution of Secretary, not Secretary, which is more or less a dashboard you see now. The app is rather invisible in the whole context, as it should perform in future steps in a broader network of applications, because now you see the first one on the left side is our implementation, which we also incorporated with GPT-3, where calendars get synced up with Google and you get an email, it gets directly put into your calendar and so on. And that should be extended to an amount where also product feeds, product changes and everything can be managed from one API case. For us, it was WhatsApp, because as a small business owner, you're on the go, try to acquire customers and so on. So it would be nice to have an easy to access endpoint where you can deliver all your information and the system provides you with the output. That's why you see on the right side the social media post that is upcoming in that sense, because you fed it with information and that gets distributed via various channels, where we sorted out some API solutions that could be implemented, but the current status is now with meetings and the respective date, the respective author of the email, and the cause or intent that got provided in the text. Because we came across several solutions and the semantic engine allowed us to really generate causes and topics out of the text in the broadest sense. The services, as already mentioned, are right now the Google Calendar and the Google Email that you can just log in with your data and then have the full service at your hand. In the following steps, social media was inevitable from the interviews, because it's a channel where you really need to go more or less into a deep dive with all what's coming up now with the business manager from Facebook, diverse distributions of content, your own products in your web shop, which might be also populated by this more or less secretary assistant. And that's for us. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Robert and Matthias. We're going to bring the judges back as well. And I'm quite impressed that you even managed to interview two stakeholders, as you mentioned in the beginning, because the time was very limited. So the judges are coming back to the stage. I already see them pop up. And yes, now we are complete. Fantastic. Judges, what is your first question to the team, to Robert and Matthias? Please, Martin, go ahead.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation. I just have one question. Maybe I missed it, but how did you enrich your product with GPT-3 or AI in general?
With the processing of the contextual information, because that's the point we identified as the most valuable in the context for the human resource, that you can really communicate at an easy natural language and populate the diverse channels and informations in your application in this one dedicated solution.
Fantastic. Thank you for your answer. Any additional question from the judges? Matthias, please go ahead.
No, I would just want to ask how you guys experienced overall working with GPT-3 and the capabilities it have. I see you using quite some various approaches, both extracting key information and generating out based on a set of information.
Overall, it was nice. It was good to have Matthias as a more or less data scientist from the technical sides to help with the queries. But our first approach was a different framework or solution in PHP, where the API didn't work that properly, where we had a hard time. So we switched at midnight to Node.js, which we both didn't have experience with. So that was a hard thing, but overall it's great for the extraction and also to give various query parameters and get them all out at a rather short amount of stacked queries.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Any additional questions? Karina, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. So I have, I wanted to ask if you can describe to me a bit the user journey. So I use Gmail, and now I want to add secretary. And how would it work? Like, what would I do? How would it help me personally with my Gmail account?
So as from other applications already known, there is a third-party single sign-on, which also Google incorporates in multiple services. So you would just link your Google account or whatever accounts else would be possible to future solutions like Facebook, the Business Manager, Instagram, and so on. That those would be linked to your account, and there the data would be managed in one place so that you put into one source and the system distributes. But for you, it's really just the single sign-on with the application you wish to use, and then you can enjoy it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any additional question from the judges? I take this as... Is there follow-up? Yes, Karina, please go ahead.
So this has nothing to do with AI and GPT-3, but just thinking of these social media marketing channels. I think Hootsuite is like kind of what they have this idea for marketing specifically, where you have this one login and then you can run the campaigns on all platforms simultaneously and have like the planned post for the future. And so just to understand it correctly, so in this case I could it's not the same thing. It's just that I would have a single login. I wouldn't have to set up accounts at all anywhere. I could just like use all platforms with one account.
Exactly. So as we heard from HCI courses and the HCI industry overall, we didn't want it to create an additional service where you need to sign up and have a dedicated account when there are so many possibilities out there, but you would still need to sign in with the sources and origins you then want to use in form of services. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Any final question? No, I think we are good to go. Thank you so much, Robert and Matthias, for this fantastic presentation. We again going backstage now, and we are inviting the fourth team, which I've chosen a very funny name, the Leftovers. So I'm really curious to see who is behind the Leftovers. We're gonna add them to the Restream studio, and they will join us any second now to present what they have created, the target audience, and the solution. So let's see if the team is already in the studio. Yes, I already see Anastasia, Valeria, hello. Let's see if your presentation works, if you can share it. And let us know in case you need any help.
Sure thing. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm Anastasia. I'll be presenting for the Leftovers.
Fantastic.
I'll share my screen.
You can share your screen, yeah. And let's see. I tell you once we can see it.
Can you see my Google Docs page?
Yes, yeah.
Excellent.
So if you click on present or share, I can see the first slide. Do you just want to go to the second slide so that we can make sure that it works as well? Yes, brilliant. Fantastic. Are you good to go, Anastasia?
Sure. Yes, I heard you were curious about our name. It's quite
Yes.
straightforward. We are the Leftovers because many of our members didn't join. So we made one group of Leftovers, and that's us.
Fantastic. And will you introduce who is in the group as part of your presentation, or do you want to introduce them briefly now?
Sure. So our group is composed of me, Anastasia, Bernhard, Valeria, and Jacob. And I think we did had an excellent experience working together, and it was really fun.
Fantastic. Well, then I'm looking forward to your presentation. You have 5 minutes as well, and good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so I will be presenting a product. It is called You Good. In 2015, at the Conference of Computer Vision and Information Engineering, it was found that millennials will be overtaking the majority representation of the workforce. And by 2030, this hyper-connected, tech-savvy generation will make up 75% of the workforce in many different sectors, including transportation, public security, education, medical care, power energy supply, all sectors. Therefore, we are dedicated to branding our idea or our company towards these figures or statistics. So we would like to bring you through a journey. Here we have Rick Ortiz. He's representing our millennial representational group. He is a software developer with 2 years of experience, and he's employed remotely at a fictional company called Cake. So let's see Rick's journey. One early morning on Slack, Rick receives a message. Hi, Rick. This is Bobby, your favorite product manager at Cake. We are a bit short-staffed, and me and Laura were curious if you would take over as a Scrum Master for 3 months tops. So a side note, what is a Scrum Master? It's someone who leads the team, product development team using agile project management techniques, and it's often a very different job than a developer. We understand you're a developer, but with your recent experience, we are sure it is possible. If you accept, we will consider you for a raise at the end of the quarter. Let us know, no pressure. Thanks. On the surface, Ricky responds and he says, Hi, Bobby. Thanks for your message. Sure, I think I can handle it. Whatever is best for the company. I know our team isn't complete at the moment because of Jesse quitting. Signed, Rick. Although this is the surface, behind the scenes, moments later after sending the message, he's very stressed. He says to himself, Jesse quit because he hated being Scrum Master. Jesse's so smart and organized. If he can't do it, how can I? Rick decides to take one for the team, identifies his strengths, says, you know what, Ricky, you got this. Just some research and he'll be good. Unfortunately, 30 days later, he is bombarded with responding to messages very far from his original role. He's very stressed, keeps reminding himself to keep it together, and on the surface, it seems fine that he's managing his job. Unfortunately, Ricky has lost a lot of weight, 6 kilograms. He's been sleeping 5 hours a night. As we can see in these photos, he's struggling. Now it's 60 days later. Rick is experiencing significant hair loss, and the stress is taking a very serious toll on him. 65 days later, 5 days after his hair loss, identification, recognition, he receives a message. Hi, Ricky, it's Bobby, your favorite product manager. As you may know, we recently purchased the YouGood software a few weeks ago. I've been so busy managing these products, I haven't noticed the changes in your communication. It appears YouGood analyzed your Slack messages and emails and notified us that you may be struggling. We got Michael to cover the meeting for you. Whenever you're comfortable, click the link below and schedule a chat with our psychologist at AR Maya. Completely confidential. We just want to make sure you're good. So what exactly is YouGood? It utilizes the GPT-3 AI, and it essentially is monitoring the sentiment within communication channels and detects changes in an employee's communication style. It also detects changes in frequency, and it ensures that there's an optimal employee lifetime value being accomplished. So we developed a solution for great working in a working atmosphere with the well-being of employees in mind. Our tool analyzes speech behavior of employees and detects a change in sentiment. And this is a crucial indicator of an employee's mood that has an impact on their work output. If a person is affected by something in the private sphere, it can decrease their work performance. And sometimes people don't feel comfortable speaking about their problems. This leaves an employer confused at the situation that went out of control. The solution is just as simple as checking up on a fellow colleague and asking, "Are you good? Or are you good?" Our tool will let you know when it's time. And we follow a very simple equation. We find that happier employees are equivalent to optimal productivity and less employee turnover, which is very beneficial for whichever industry you're working in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anastasia. The time is unfortunately up.
We had a demo in mind. Sorry.
Maybe one of the judges will ask for the demo. We are bringing the judges back.
Okay, wonderful.
And
thank you.
Let's see once everybody is back in the studio.
Okay.
1, 2, perfect. Welcome back, judges. Who has the first question for Anastasia and the team? Matthias and then Karina.
Bernhard will be joining.
Do you have a demo?
Oh, good question. Thank you. Bernhard, are you there? Would you like to show our demo?
Can you hear me actually? I'm not sure.
Very faintly, yes.
Yeah, we can hear you, but very faintly. So if you speak louder, it might be better.
It's super weird because I'm sitting in front of a very good microphone.
Yeah, I mean, we can hear you. We just have to listen really attentively. Do you want to share the screen?
Oh, maybe if I mute myself, that will make his...
So, Bernhard, are you sharing your screen as well?
So I am not sharing my screen, so I assume it might work.
You should be seeing my screen now.
Not yet. Okay, now, yes.
Okay, perfect.
We see your screen.
So what did we do? We've been using the completion mechanism because the classification mechanism is a bit...
sorry to interrupt you, Bernhard. It's because I can see also the Restream studio. Maybe you just want to show us the window.
Yep.
Yeah, and maybe make it a bit, zoom in a bit.
that's not relevant.
That's
The left part is more relevant.
Okay, judges, can you see it clearly? Is it okay for you?
It's a little bit small, so maybe.
Wait. Problem is presentation mode will be very big. You don't really need to read the code. It's fine, I guess. So what we did is we used the classification mechanism that they presented for identifying sentiment of tweets, and we want to use it as a multi-channel API hook for any kind of communication channel that your company uses. So what we do basically is we send messages through our API. Of course, it will be flagged with your user ID and then the actual messaging data. Messaging data could be anything that is text-based that can be analyzed with GPT-3 here. And so my message here is, I really love dogs. We send it through our API to GPT-3 and it's okay, great. That's a positive message. We save our positive message in our database, but no content. We only save the result of the sentiment. So we are aware of any kind of privacy issues. We just have the user ID, the GPT query ID. I don't know if you can actually retroactively find something out about that, the timestamp when it was done, and then the label of neutral. I can really hate dogs, and then we get back the negative sentiment. Also, there is neutral. And what we do on top of that, we have our users with their user ID, and in comes then this. The metrics we identified is either positive, neutral, or negative messages. So Grumpy George generally has a very balanced behavior in his messages, and he also still has a very high frequency of messaging that is within normal parameters, so there is no action to be taken. Happy Hannah, she's super happy, few neutral, few negative messages, super high frequency, nothing to worry about. And then we have concerned Christina, and here we see the problem. First of all, her messaging frequency dropped significantly to below half of Hannah, who might be a frequent messenger, but more importantly, her negative messages skyrocketed. So basically everything she did for the last whatever time frame you want to analyze then went way over 50% of negative messages, and this would then trigger the YouGood application to your line manager or any person that is in charge of you or that is appointed to look after you, to have a chat with you and to look out for you if anything is going wrong or if they can be of any help to improve your situation as the company and to ultimately keep you as an employee.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bernhard. Do we have any other question from our judging panel? Karina, yes, you were second.
So thank you for the presentation and the demo. I really feel what you just described, because I have in my environment a friend who just swapped from programmer to Scrum Master, being exactly a millennial, and completely burning out in a very short period, managing so much emotions of others. And so I really see the problem. But as a lawyer, I have like these alarm blinking things that go on with the idea. I mean, on the one hand, I feel like, imagine you work at a place and you feel people are watching your sentiment while writing. So you might even try to write in a different way because you don't want somebody to think you're looking for another job or being classified as someone looking for around. Also, I think there could be quite a GDPR problem, because it's I mean, it's something that is very personal. Even if the line manager has to care about it. And so for me, if I would look at the tool, I think it would more help to have it as a self-evaluation, or with really some like having like it would come with a certain structure in a company that makes sure that not your responsible directly analyzes your emotions when you're writing the text. So for me, it would be a bit a scary big brother watching you kind of idea. which I think would also have some problems from GDPR-wise. But I think there are ways to work it around to really help people maybe realize themselves or get it to safe spaces where it doesn't affect their role in the company and whether they are going to get to the next step or not, or maybe they're even let go before they know that they have a problem themselves. So I see potential for misuse. That's what I wanted to add on.
Fantastic. Thank you, Karina, for pointing this out. And I think it's very important as well to always look at what kind of consequences could such a tool have. Does anyone from the team, from the left of the scene, want to comment on what Karina just said?
Or if you have thought about it in the process.
Yeah, it was definitely thought about. It started all out as an idea of self-control and as an idea of like a companion that notifies you when you might have overlooked that you're in deep waters already. But we talked to Pavel about it, and he said there are actually quite a few companies doing not that, but similar things. And as long as we don't actually analyze the content or save that, we should at least be in a business model that is real life workable. Maybe not easy, especially in Austria or especially in areas where GDPR is a topic. But a lot of companies do extensive snooping on your business communication already. So I would say it can be legally worked out, and you would most likely sign off on it on your work contract. But yeah, definitely potential for misuse. And if you would know me personally, I would never agree to my communication being monitored.
Fantastic. Thank you for clarifying, Bernhard. Do we have any other question from the judges to the leftovers? Yes, Arnold, please.
Maybe a short question or rather comment. I think I can imagine big companies like Amazon or Google are still implementing tools like this in their messaging systems, and maybe it's good to bring up a company that's doing just this stuff, but more trustworthy, or have rules what to do and how to do it, and so give some control to the employees, something like that. So, but big companies will do it anyway. So maybe it's not such a bad idea.
May I just add something completely different? But the biggest penalty for GDPR in Germany was actually H&M that paid it. And they didn't need any technology to do it. They were just spying among employees and then reporting to their superiors that maybe the person is not so suited for a superior position because they're planning to get pregnant or whatever. So you don't always need basically the technology, but I think there are workarounds that if you make the right structure and transparency and make sure it reports to someone who does not judge on whether you are moving up the line or not, I think you can find ways in a transparent and trustworthy way.
Fantastic. Thanks for this input. And I think it's really interesting to see that we're talking about tech and our conversation goes towards also the ethical perspective. What does this mean for the individual who is then using it or affected by? Fantastic. Well, any other questions? Just looking at the judges once more. No, I take this as a no. So, Anastasia, yeah. Final comment from your side.
Are we over on time, or I can say something?
Yes, just a final comment, a quick one.
We had Pavel as our mentor for a few minutes, but it was very, very informative and helpful. And he also stated that there's this company, I found the notes, called Gloat. It's an Israeli company which does something similar, but he found that there wasn't anything very proactive. It just ended up being monitoring. So he thought that our idea was pretty valuable because it actually had maybe a purpose, more of a purpose. But I haven't looked at Gloat because it's so tiring. It's a lot of time.
Yeah, it's only 24 hours after all. No, thank you for this.
I think Google Glasses is working on emotion detection. So basically, the idea that you can detect the emotion of the person in front of you before they're even, so that you can react in the. I think that's the idea. But there I see a lot of. I'm not sure if these applications are going to work in Europe as such, because how do you get the person you're running over in the street basically handing to you over the right to analyze the feeling of the person, or in a technological way and save it?
Yeah, thanks for this info, Karina. And I think you guys are onto something. It's definitely a very impactful, can be a very impactful field, because we all, I guess, know someone or know from personal experience how tiring it can be and how close to burnout you can be if the work is just getting too much. And this tool can be used with the right restrictions, of course. So I guess you guys are onto something. Thank you so much to the leftovers and the judges. And I would now like to invite, last but not least, the fifth team, the final team. So the final team for today, Artificial with a Y. Really curious to see what solution they have come up with. We have had such a diversity in the concept so far, from students to farmers to now looking at employees' well-being. And I see Marta already popping up at the screen. Hello, Marta, how are you? Students to farmers to now looking at employees' well-being. And I see Marta already. I think you have to set. Hello, Marta, how are you?
Sorry.
That's okay. I think you just had this stream open, so there was a bit of a delay, but I can see you. I can hear you. Are you the one presenting for your company or for your team?
Yes. Yes.
Brilliant. Do you want to test sharing the screen just so that we make sure that everything works before we start the 5 minutes?
Unfortunately, the system does not want to let me share it.
Do you want to upload the presentation, or do you want to share your screen?
Sharing the screen.
So if you click on the icon in the middle.
Yeah, I did that, but it starts loading something and then it does not allow me to. Just if you can give me like a second. This is a
yes, of course.
very inconvenient tool for the future. Maybe they can
take your time. And otherwise, we can ask Kuba as well, our technical wizard, to help us out. So
wait a second.
Yes, Kuba is here. Yeah.
Are you trying to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you try to share just one tab?
Yeah, I tried the window. Wait a second. I will just try it. I just have to quit once again, even though I have already done it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Take your time. No rush. Brilliant. So we're waiting for Marta to come back to have everything set up, but I'm really curious about her presentation. And as I said, this is the final team. The judges will then combine the individual scores, and we will soon know the top 3 out of the 5 teams. So stay tuned. It's definitely going to be an exciting result. I'm really curious. I can't really, I mean, I'm just looking at it personally. I wouldn't even know whom to score the highest. They were all really exciting so far. And we have Marta back. Let's try again.
Hopefully with a prototype. Can you see my screen now? Should be.
Yes.
Yes, brilliant. We can see your screen. Do you just want to maybe try to click forth and back in case it's a presentation so that we make sure that everything works?
Wait a second.
Yes,
it
I
does,
can see.
Right?
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, amazing. Then just.
Are you ready, Marta?
Yeah, just wait, maybe make it full screen.
Let's try that as well.
Better now for you?
I just have to wait and see. I still see the.
Sorry, it's loading something.
That's okay. I think if you're good to go, should we start the 5 minutes? Marta?
Wait a second. It's just that something.
Yeah, take your time. Tell me when you're ready. I don't wanna rush you.
Okay. Is for you now? It's like a full screen, like the Figma kind of thing.
Yeah, it looks good. I mean, I still see the URL on top, but since it's dark, it doesn't distract me. So the main presentation is the focus.
Maybe now it's better.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can start with our 5 minutes then. Yes, may I start?
Yes, please go ahead. The stage is all yours.
Hi, everybody. I hope you still have some energy left. My name is Marta, and I'm representing the team Artificial. And today I'm going to introduce our solution called MB, which helps managing panic attacks. And let's start off with some not so fun fact. As you can see, according to statistics, around 284 million of people worldwide suffer from anxiety disorders. And what exactly is a panic attack? Actually, there are certain symptoms such as racing heart, chills, sweating, trembling, difficulties breathing. But in our short research, we found the best definition. Yes, which is like a panic attack feels like being trapped in a room with no windows or doors, and it's filling up with sand and water, and or a massive wave that continues to wash over me. So the problem we tackled, or rather problems, was that panic attacks often come suddenly without any particular warning or cause, especially for people suffering from a panic disorder. During these moments, a person needs some external help in order to calm down. At the same time, people who are trying to help them sometimes are making the situation worse because they're saying stuff like, calm down, breathe, while you're stressing out. And then we came up with MB, which is an AI-powered intervention app that uses a predefined triggers, which is an HRV, heart rate variability. It tracks it from the wearable device to detect when a user is experiencing a panic attack and help them manage it by guiding them through the grounding technique. Oops, too far. So the unique value proposition of MB is that it is tailored to individual experience. The AI will learn which type of communication works best for a particular user. Another thing is the initiated interaction. A person does not have to take any unnecessary steps in a crisis situation. The third important thing is real-time tracking. The AI continues to track health data all the time or until user uses the app. And last but not least, the non-human assistant. This application will be available 24/7, judgment and shame-free. And here you can see how it works. So basically, we have our smartwatch, which detects suspicious heart rate variability, and is asking us if we are probably experiencing this panic attack. We are pressing yes. And then it prompts us to open MB on our phones. And we're having the app. So the way it is working, you kind of have like a little chatbot, which is greeting you and kind of starts with a couple of questions using the grounding technique, which is basically about asking you to find some object in the room and describe it so that you can kind of calm yourself down and get distracted with something else and feel connected to the reality. We introduce this feature when the app can kind of ask you if you want to talk or you want to text. Because during our exploration, we figured out that you can also do some speech recognition. Yeah, so basically this is what you can see here. Load into slow. Yeah. So as you can see, it kind of it's like a real conversation that our user can start. Here you can see the profile. And yeah, how do we match the criteria? We've thought about the sustainability because we utilize the devices that you already have from solution. We have a broad user group that can use the app, as well as a wide range of external collaboration. We have a high user retention. Another sense that we considered here is that we have like a huge target market ranging from private users to public and private companies. And I think our time is up. But if you want to hear more about our business model, I will be happy to keep sharing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for this brilliant presentation, Marta. I'm curious, who else is part of your team?
So our team consists of 5 people. We're pretty big team. And it is Faisyan, it's Barat, it's Michael, and View. Yep.
Fantastic. Great. So we have our judges back, and I'm curious to see who has the first question for you, Marta. Judges, do we have any question? Yes, Clemens, please go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the very interesting presentation here. I think it could be a very, very useful tool, and that the chatbot could really, maybe give you strong advices here, but maybe also a part of this application should be that maybe it asks you if you would like to inform someone else, or if there could be also other triggers that you could send here. Is this also part of this concept here? Did you think about this?
Yes, indeed. We also have this kind of opportunity to create an emergency list, so you can have your contacts, the closest people, and the app, like at some point, the chatbot can either tell you that, or maybe you should call this or that person. And in addition, if the heart rate is really high, because it also happens sometimes that people who experience panic attacks are thinking that they have a heart attack. And actually, there can be a situation that you have this disorder, and then you don't know if, okay, maybe it's a panic attack, maybe that's a heart attack. So thanks to the tracking, actually, if the heart rate variability kind of exceeds a certain benchmark, so to say, then the app kind of proposes you to call the doctor. Yeah.
Thank you. This clarified also my second question.
Fantastic. Well, very well thought through, it seems. Do we have any other question from the judges? Yes, Karine, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the great presentation. Also, I have a friend who has that problem, who had a heart attack and has panic attacks and doesn't sometimes know what it is, and it's very hard for him. And so I was curious, because I've heard of AI applications in general linked to the smartwatch to detect certain statuses or dangerous threats, or measure certain things. So I wanted to know if you are aware about anyone else in that sphere, or basically competition. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. So we basically looked at our a broader list of competitors, so to say, indirect competition, and we were thinking more about the apps that, for instance, apps such as Calm or Loom, that are also kind of trying to calm you down using different techniques. But we kind of thought that the special thing in our app is that when you're in this extreme situation, you probably don't really want to hear the meditation. Probably you won't even perceive the meditation. And for this reason, we kind of thought that maybe something that really distinguishes us on the market is the fact that it kind of immediately starts helping you manage your situation instead of simply collecting data and then, finding the best meditation guideline or whatever for you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Marta. Do we have any final question for Marta and the team? I think your presentation was very comprehensive. You had all of the details already there, which is brilliant. So thank you, Marta. Thank you to Artificial for introducing us to your idea and your prototype. We're now going to give some time to the judges to put down their final score and to decide the top 3, which means we will be back shortly with very exciting news, and we will announce the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st place of the first AI Hackathon Salzburg. So stay tuned, don't leave us. We will soon announce the winners. Welcome back. It's now the big time for us to understand and learn who are the top 3 winning teams of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. So it's time for us to start the award ceremony. And I again want to thank our amazing judging panels, Clemens, Arnold, Martin, Karina, and Matthias, for taking the time and evaluating all of the top 5 teams, thanks to their expertise. I also just want to check if they're still in the studio and if we can bring them to the stage, if that's possible. Yes, I see them popping up. I already see Matthias, Martin, Karina, Tastic, Arnold, and Clemens, I guess, will be here as well. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for taking the time and being part of the judging panel. I just want to ask each of you to, in one word, which I know is very difficult, but how did you find the presentations and the concepts, the prototypes from the teams overall? And I'm going to start in the order that we see your names here on the screens. I'm going to start with Clemens. One word, how would you describe the presentations and the concepts from the teams?
Just one word, then I would say innovative.
Innovative. Well, that's fantastic. That's what we're looking for. Brilliant. Arnold, what about you?
Excellent.
Excellent. Okay. Martin?
Inspiring.
Inspiring. That's a big word as well. Karina, what about you?
Oh, Martin just picked my word.
I'm sorry.
Sparkling and triggering, so it's 2 words, but now it seems I got it picked.
Yes, sparkling and triggering. Those are very fantastic words. And Matthias, last but not least, how would you describe the presentations and the concepts from the teams in one word?
Motivating.
Motivating. Fantastic. Well, again, thank you all so much for being part of it and taking the time. And I guess it's now time for us to reveal the top 3. So I'm quite excited, and we again put you backstage, but thank you so much for taking the time and being part of it. Our wonderful judges of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. All right. So I want to remind you again that, of course, the top 3 winners are, of course, winning fantastic prizes, from cash prizes to a voucher for DigitalOcean, as well as 2 years free membership as part of the talent group of the Good AI. So really interesting and exciting prizes. And I would say, without further ado, are you ready? So what we're going to do is now we're going to announce the 3rd place, the 2nd place, and then the 1st place. And for the final winner for the 1st place, I would ask the team as well to then rejoin again Restream if that's possible, so we can have you in the studio and see you here live with us on stage. All right, are you ready? So, 3rd place, we had 5 fantastic teams who all developed very diverse solutions, from focused on students to farmers to as well mental health. So really exciting. And the judges gave us the final score, and the 3rd place goes to AI Ventures. Congratulations, guys. Really fantastic. Your final score was 43.4. So fantastic to AI Ventures. They focused their solution on students, and I'm really curious to see how this solution maybe now gets taken forward, maybe as well with the help of the FH Salzburg. So congratulations, AI Ventures. Who is on the 2nd place? So who is the 2nd place team out of the 5 teams that we're presenting? And again, the scoring was very tight with 43.8 points in total. We have Artificial, the team who was focused on mental health as well, and primarily looking at supporting the well-being of individuals. So congratulations, teams. You are the 2nd placed of the AI Hackathon. And I guess now you're all curious to hear who is the winning team, who landed the 1st place of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. And I'm really proud to reveal that the 1st place goes to The leftovers. Unexpectedly, a team that didn't find the team members they were originally assigned to, so they formed a new team, the leftovers, and they had a fantastic solution. They shared with us, You Good. And again, as we mentioned in the conversation with the judges, it's definitely a very forward-thinking solution. If the team can join Restream, we would love to put you on stage. I want to see if we can bring Anastasia, Bernhard, Valeria, and Jakob back to us. Let's see if you guys are still in the studio. Again, congratulations. You are the top team, and maybe you also want to know the score. You received 47.4 points on average, and I already see Bernhard popping up on the screen. Let's see if we have the other team members as well. Bernhard, welcome back. Can you hear me? I can't see you yet. Yes, here you are. And we have Valeria as well. Let's see if Anastasia and Jakob are also joining us. So this is the winning team, the leftovers, a really fun name. I guess you guys made the best out of the situation, and it paid off because you are the winners of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. Anastasia, hello, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
So the stage is yours. Words from the winners. What do you have to say?
Thank you so much for choosing us as first. It was a really excellent experience, and it was really fun, and it was awesome to work with new people for the first time, really. So it was really fun. Thank you so much.
Brilliant.
I'm glad you liked it.
Does anybody else from the team want to say any winning words?
No, it's funny because it's a team of people that actually didn't have a team, so we were all bunched together. And sometimes when you find out who your team members are, you're a bit surprised, because we had people like Jakub, who is an interior designer. But that only shows that you shouldn't be too keen on having only tech people, because tech people will produce tech products. And diverse teams can think on different levels. And it was actually an asset for us to have people from various backgrounds. Like Anastasia is doing HCI, I'm an engineer. So it was very interesting to combine ideas from different fields and not only dwell in your own basement.
Fantastic, yeah, and that's very relevant, Bernhard. And I think you guys are the proof that, you know, when it comes to innovation, diversity is really the key, because you then have multiple aspects. Great. Do you already have any idea on how you're taking your idea forward? I guess you now have to talk about whether, you know, you maybe even join form a strong team and see how you can really realize this idea that you had. Do you have anything already in mind?
I don't think so. Actually, we came up with the idea from really engaging in good conversation for many hours. And the result of that was, you know, a good idea in the end, because anytime someone had an idea, we tested it in a very comfortable environment, you know, no harsh feelings or anything, and it worked out in the end. But as for future goals, I don't know.
Well, let's see. I'm really curious to see in a few years from now, even a few months down the road, we actually see You Good being available somewhere, you know that. But congratulations again. You have done a fantastic job, and the judges have chosen you as the winners of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. So you can be really proud of yourself and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I think you have something to celebrate. Thank you,
Karen. You're very good at you know, moderating and presenting, and it's excellent having you here too.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's very kind, Anastasia. Well, those were the leftovers, the winners of the AI Hackathon Salzburg. And we had a total of 5 teams presenting who absolutely did a brilliant job. So congratulations to all the winners. And I'm really curious to see if any of them are taking the ideas they have forward, and maybe we see them turning into successful businesses in the future. Right, this was the ceremony, and this brings us now to the last point, to the closing remarks for the AI Hackathon. And I would like to invite my colleague Robert, or Rob, to the stage with me in case he's in the studio for the final closing remarks. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you all on board and be so engaged. Let's see if Rob is already here. And it's interesting when it comes to the leftovers to see what you can come up with in 24 hours. And not only the leftovers, actually all teams. It's quite impressive what they have come up with in such a short time. All right, just checking if Robert is in the studio and if we can put him on stage as well. Okay, fantastic. Then I think we have Aziz, who's joining us instead of Robert. I just saw in the notification. Aziz, yes, hi, how are you?
Hi, hopefully you can hear me well.
Yes, I can hear you well. Good to have you. So as I understand, you will deliver the closing remarks?
No, that will be Robert as well, and Kuba. For me, as I was asked to join by Robert, I'll give my... Here is Robert, as we speak with him.
Fantastic. So here it is. So we now have you both, Aziz and Robert, for the closing remarks. And Robert, do you want to start? We can see you now as well, or if you're closing remarks.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Hello.
I hope you see me and hear me good.
Yeah, works well.
Okay.
We can see you clearly and also hear you clearly.
Okay. Do I need my jacket? No.
Up to you.
Okay.
It's been a long 24 hours, so I think you are allowed to take off your jacket. Yeah.
First of all, thank you so much, Karen, for this wonderful weekend since we worked together the last weeks and months. I will say a few words if you give me the stage and the next slide. Short to my person. My name is Robert, as you already heard, or you can call me Rob if you want, or Bobby. It's up to you. And I want to say, of course, thank you, Karin, that we worked together. I appreciate, of course, the quality of the moderation, as Anastasia also said. I want to congratulate the winner teams, of course, the leftovers, cool name. And I learned also new things in the last 2 days. I'm a little bit nervous right now because this is the first AI hackathon, as you heard, in Salzburg. But I'm also very thankful and inspired by the talks of Clemens Wasner and of Matthias Asberg. And to give you a little background story, what was the motivation of students and my person? Last year, I had the idea, or we came up with the idea to organize this hackathon, this AI hackathon in Salzburg. And 2 or 3 years ago, I met Matthias in the startup ecosystem. And what we share is a common passion for entrepreneurship, as we heard a lot of. And I'm a student of the small and medium enterprises management and entrepreneurship in Salzburg. And 2 years ago, I met Matthias, and now we are sitting here in Salzburg together, celebrating the winning teams. So I'm really excited to be here and to connect with you all, the participants and also the judges. And I want to give you a book recommendation today. And this is very interesting because during my research over the last weeks, I met a data scientist, Catherine, and she was one of the authors, right? And all the authors are living in Austria, and they created this handbook. It's called Data Science and AI. And I will recommend this also to the winning teams and to all participants, all who are interested in the topic, right? So let me share with you my inspiration for the closing remarks and for today before you guys go to the party and enjoy your evenings and enjoy the weekends with virtual drinks or real drinks. I hope so. Before we go to the networking party, I want to share with you a picture. It's a picture which inspired me yesterday when I was reading about what is the difference between a ladder climber to a ladder builder. We all start in our careers. I would say we all start as a ladder climber. We all want to be successful in our careers. We want to be successful as a student, or as Matthias and Clemens said, of course, we want to be successful as a company or as an entrepreneur, but it's not always easy. And we heard a lot about the topic teamwork, right? So alone you can be a genius, but together we can create much more. And I would say this is a lesson what we learned over the last 2 days. And the picture I share with you is you see a ladder which represents, of course, the university. But also, I would say after 2 days connecting with Matthias and Clemens and also Women in AI or the Good AI, the ladder is the ecosystem which helps you to climb higher levels of knowledge, also higher levels of skills we need to form successful teams. And so my inspiration for you all participants and also for all who support our mission for the next year is not only to be a ladder climber, what is good, nothing is wrong about that. It's cool to be successful in our careers, but also think about as a leader to build ladders for others. So you can create much more if you work together. And this is something I want to give you as a closing remark. Connect with us, stay in touch with us. We can meet at the university. As Karin told us, there's the FH Startup Center with Natascha Deutinger. There is Patrick Dürnberger and Assis Kuni, which helped us a lot. I want to say special thanks to Assis, to the Student Union and Patrick Dürnberger. And yeah, that's it for my side. I will give the word also to Assis if you want to share a few closing remarks for the students.
Thank you very much, Robert, for these kind words. To start with, I'd like to thank Karin for this very interactive 2 days we've had, taking the time and moderating. Sometimes may seem easier as it is than it is, but you did a great job. Thank you for that. I would like to also congratulate not just all the 3 winning teams, but all the teams for jumping into something new, to working together with new members. Also, I'm really happy to see more women in AI and women in tech. That is something that is progressively increasing, and we actually look forward to that, especially at the Fachhochschule, but also in Salzburg. I'm beyond surprised how well something that I've been working at this university to do is interdisciplinary work between study programs. And it showed today. It showed actually over the last 2-3 days. And that is something that I look forward to seeing even more. I'd like to give a big thanks to Matthias, to Robert, to both Roberts. Very importantly from my side, Patrick Dürnberger, who kept me afloat, who kept this event afloat more than I can count. Deep Learning Labs, and as well, most importantly, the sponsors of these events. This event seeks to not just be a one-time event. We aim to integrate this event throughout the years, more into the university, the University of Applied Sciences, and within the Salzburg region. So for the participants of today, for the members, the jury of today, spread the word. I hope to work together the next few years to bring such events closer to the region. And also, thanks to the tool we've had at disposal today, there was a quote that said, "Tool of the future, but not future through the tools." So think of it as not just a means to an end, but beginning, a new beginning. So I would like to thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Robert and Assis, for your kind and encouraging closing remarks. And this leaves me again to, for the last time, thank all the teams and the organizations that were involved, the fantastic team from Deep Learning Labs, NextGrid, whom we have met, as well. Thanks to Matthias being the CEO and co-founder, of course, the student body, FH Salzburg, Women in AI. And I just want to add a quick remark that the book that Robert has recommended was actually written by 4 women who are also part of Women in AI. Of course, AI Austria, Fact AI, and The Good AI. So these are the teams that made the AI Hackathon Salzburg possible. Having said this, thank you again for being part of it. Thank you again for your contribution and for your time. This was the first AI Hackathon, and we all look forward to welcoming you back to the next one, hopefully soon. Take care, have a great rest of the weekend, and stay safe. Bye.